Welcome to Reddit Seeker Christmas Stories. Oh God, I got a list a mile long about my dad. A little background. My father is AD, not just an asholish D, but a true C of AD. Contradictory description, but it's the most eloquent way to put it. Instance number 1. My father lost custody of me and my brother to my grandfather because of unsanitary and living conditions. Read there was no running water or electricity at his house and he had no intention of getting either. He had a new wife who had 2 kids, Laura and Billy. They lived with my father full-time. We were however allowed to visit for a couple weeks at a time. During one of these instances fell Christmas. At the time I was 5 or 6 and a bedwetter. I couldn't help it, but that didn't stop him from beating me, then standing me in the corner for 10 hours at a time because he insisted I did it on purpose. Christmas Eve was one such occasion. During the day my grandmother stopped by and I was given a break while she was visiting to look like a normal child so that she didn't know anything was up. She dropped off a bunch of gifts for me and my brother and left. Then back to the corner I went with a spray can balanced on my head and my arms at my side so that if it fell I got beat for moving. I was dead tired by the time I went to bed and didn't want to ruin Christmas for everyone by peeing in my bed again, so I forced myself to stay awake. I failed at staying awake, but awoke Christmas morning to find I didn't pee the bed. I was proud and gathered with the rest of the kids by the tree to open gifts. They started handing out gifts to everyone, but nothing to me. I thought it was odd that Billy was getting similar gifts to my brother, including a couple Transformer action figures I'd been wanting. Then came the last gift under the tree. 6 inches tall by 4 inches wide by 2 inches thick, and it had my name on it. By this point tears were already welling up in my eyes because I thought Santa hated me because I peed the bed. My dad and stepmom silenced all the kids and made them watch me open my gift. I was excited because I didn't think I was going to get anything, and then I got a gift. So I tore it open, and what was inside? A lice medicine box similar to this one, but it was blue. I looked at it tentatively and then up at my dad and stepmom, who both had big smiles. My brother had started crying, though I didn't understand why. I opened the box and it was full of rocks. Then I cried and they told me it was because I chose to pee the bed on purpose. I later found out that he made my brother go get the rocks and relabel all the gifts my grandmother gave us for Billy. Sad face. Instances number 2 to 4. My father kidnapped us from our grandfather, then moved everyone to hide out in another state for 10 years, during which many things happened. These are just a few that came to mind. I had all the skin burned off both my legs with boiling water because we had no heat during the winter and heated our bath water in the kitchen on a hot plate. My stepmother made me get into a lukewarm bath 2 inches deep, then came in and poured boiling water without saying a word right on my legs. The skin just fell off. They refused to take me to the hospital, and just covered them in ice. I was in agony for days and they kept me out of school and lied to them for the reason. My father was spanking my brother for some reason with him over his knee, and he kicked the couch armrest while flailing in pain. This broke his leg. But my father and stepmom didn't believe him when he said it was broke because they wanted him to stand in the corner. They forced him to walk back and forth across the living room, beating him when he fell, telling him to stop faking it. Only after the bone started to make a big bump in his leg did they realize he wasn't lying and take him to the hospital. Laura and Billy were both my parents' favorite kids, and as such anything they said was taken with more merit and precedence than me or my brother. I was the black sheep of the family, even though I acted an angel and hardly did anything wrong. The reason is because Laura and Billy would lie and steal from my dad and then blame it on me. Their mother knew what was going on because she would have them steal from my dad to get her cigarettes and beer, then every single time would put the change somewhere in my room, be it in some dirty clothes, under my mattress, in a drawer, and once they even put it in a book, then put the book on my dresser. My dad would call everyone in the living room and they would immediately say, "I saw Dark City of Oz in your room," to which the immediate response was my denial, followed by a searching of my room by Laura and Billy, in which the one who hid it would find it. Then I would be beat with a belt, so hard that there were welts on my back, and my stepmother, feeling guilty, would put a wet towel over my back when my father left to go to the store. This went on for a solid year before she and the stepchildren abandoned my dad. I was 8 at the time, they were 13 and 14. I believe to this day my father still believes I did all those things, even thought the theft miraculously stopped when they left. If I ever meet them again, if the first thing out of their mouth isn't an apology, the beatdown will be biblical in proportions. and I will be arrested for battery. Instance number 5. After they left, my father was always in trouble with the law or the city over all the junk he had all over the place, all electronics parts. It was so bad that some rooms in the house could not be walked through, and at one point we lived in a repair shop. There was always 3-4 projects he was working on, and he always needed help with something or another, so me and my brother had no life outside of school because there was something he always needed us to do. For the most part, this meant we did the projects while he watched TV, drank, and smoked cigars. He would bring in transients and hobos with drug problems and use them for labor in return for somewhere to stay, and would sometimes put them in our room. A couple had mental problems and scared us to death. Now, on the light side of all the junking, I learned a lot about electronics and can repair just about anything that plugs in or turns on now. Otherwise it was like growing up in a junkyard you had to climb over. Instance 6. My grandfather died in '94. He left everything to me and my brother for reasons that should be obvious by now. But if they aren't, here's another. He broke 4 of my grandfather's ribs by stomping on his chest. But that's not even counted as an instance. It's what he did after he died that is. My father refused to accept the fact that he made his own father despise him so much that he would leave him nothing. So my father did everything he could to attempt to steal the inheritance. Here are a few. Tried to sue the lawyers for malpractice for taking advantage of an old man and convincing them to drop him. Tried to have me diagnosed with disability because of ADHD and severe autism so that he could gain power of attorney over my inheritance and collect a check from the government to boot. I aced all examinations and was given an IQ score of 131, which got me in a lot of trouble with him as well. Went into the court, got the original will, then made a photocopy of it and put the photocopy of it back in the court record. Then 3 months later went to the courthouse and acted surprised that the copy on record was not the original but a copy, thereby having it voided. Little did he know there was a handwritten draft in the attorney's possession which took effect, and is now under lock and key with the clerk of court, and he is allowed nowhere near it despite several attempts to gain access. Instance number 7. Tried to sue my tennis coach for mental distress for giving me a ride to the bus station to get the fuck away from him. TL, dear mother F my dad. With a 100 grit sandpaper covered baseball bat, then douche him with a 60% capsaicin, 40% alcohol solution, and then shove a Molotov cocktail up his ass, then kick him in the nuts to break the bottle and blow him up. My very religious parents were always extremely poor and kept getting poorer when I was growing up. Yet they managed, with the help of some relatives, to save about $22,000 for me for college over 17 years. Anyway, I went to college for free on scholarship and didn't choose it. During college I had come out as transgender and that wasn't very popular with my family, and I had to start living out of my car, my dorm, or other people's houses because I wasn't welcome to go home. Essentially I was marginally homeless, in the sense that they claimed me on their taxes but didn't in any way feed or house me. Anyway, they still had my money. During my senior year they finally said they'd welcome me home with open arms for Christmas. They had been super nice to me on the phone for a month or two before, and I was excited about not spending Christmas eating canned goods in my car. Upon arrival at home, I'm basically locked down in the laundry room with no access to the outside world, forced to wear male clothing, sleep on a mattress on the floor, and told humans sleep in beds, animals sleep in here. I had to pay for my own groceries while I stayed in there for 3 weeks. Even though I desperately needed durable shoes and some money for gas and food and toiletries, my parents told my relatives not to give me money because I would misuse it and instead to chip in to buy a useless acoustic guitar. Now I say useless because 1. I'm a classical guitar player and they knew this and counted upon the insult, and 2. I was living out of my car ecking by. Finally they had to let me out or one of my friends was going to report me kidnapped. Then they sent me a letter saying they were taking all of my money until I found Jesus, and even then, probably not. To top it off, they ended the letter by asking when my graduation was and demanding invites for themselves and all my relatives and demanding that I transition to walk across the stage so I wouldn't offend them. Hey, I'm fucking gorgeous and I fucking strutted across that stage. Then with some help from the bank, I got my money. Then I got in my friend's car, went to the airport, bought a plane ticket to Illinois, and now I'm making more money than my parents combined. F those people. My good buddy's wife is famous for her lack of tact and general pissiness. Their little girl is about 2 years older than mine. Her birthday was coming up, and my daughter, 7 at the time, wanted to pick out the birthday gift. She plays with my friend's daughter and has a good idea what she likes. She made a long list and carefully selected what she thought was perfect. Fast forward to the day of the party. Buddy's daughter opens up my daughter's gift. Her eyes light up, and she squeals, "Thank you." Buddy's wife: "Oh, honey, Grammy got you one of those already. Go ahead and put that one in the Goodwill charity donation box." My daughter was crushed. Took all my strength not to get up and slap the ever-loving shit out of my buddy's wife. 6 months later, we drew names for Christmas gifts for the kids. Buddy drew my daughter, and his wife forgot to buy a gift for her and didn't realize it until we were passing out gifts. I don't speak with them anymore. Edit. Fixed context to move pimp slap desire to cold-hearted wife and not my daughter. I have 3 older sisters. When I was little, maybe 6 or 7, my aunt and uncle gave my 2 older sisters very nice jewelry boxes for Christmas. My other sister and I got something else since we were younger and wouldn't appreciate the jewelry boxes. Well, a few weeks later my uncle and aunt split up. My uncle is my mom's brother and the aunt was just crazy, only related to us through their marriage. She ended up sending a letter to my mom demanding the jewelry boxes be sent back since she bought them with her own money, not my uncle's. My mom never told us about this letter until we were older and refused to send back the gifts. The woman was CRZY. The sad part is they had just finished building a huge mansion with a brand new horse farm since they both loved to ride horses. My uncle lived in the empty house for another year by himself and ended up selling it. We got to see it once. It was awesome. The biggest house I've ever been in. One of the 2 dentists in my small, rural Arkansas town hosted a white elephant Christmas party for all the kids at my church when I was about 12 or 13. Small town dentists are basically filthy rich as compared to the rest of town. No other place for people to go, and where would they even spend the money? Of course there were kids who wouldn't afford a $5 gift to bring and exchange, but he invited all of them and told them not to worry about it and that he would provide a gift for them to exchange. Cut to night of the event. In walk his kids and others with gifts clearly over the $5 limit, and he says, "Oops, forgot to provide anything for the 3 or 4 kids who are now stuck at this party looking completely ashamed." He went into his kitchen junk drawer and grabbed a couple pens from his dentist office. I was so furious and embarrassed for those kids that I could barely contain myself, and teared up. I'm sure he and other adults noticed, but no one said anything or tried to run to a store. I made a point of trading for one of those pens. But of course there were shitty kids who were assholes and complained about getting stuck with something so stupid when they brought something awesome. TL. Dr. Jerk rich guy invites poor kids to Christmas gift exchange party and forgets to supply the gifts he promised. 5 years old. I begin to open my first gift. I like the paper and I know that my grandmother is extremely frugal. I'm slowly peeling the tape. Stepdad gets angry. I'm not demonstrating enough enthusiasm. He and grandmother get into an argument about how kids should open gifts. He then takes my gift and starts ripping the paper off while yelling at grandmother. They each grab another of my gifts and proceed to show each other how to open gifts. I bolt to my room. They continue to argue. Can't remember b-day or anniversary. I feel my now ex-wife has spent a ton of time with kids and is not really taking time for herself. I pick out 2 books I think she'll like, some bubble bath and such. When I give her the gift I tell her that she's done so much she needs to take time for herself, so the real gift isn't the books, but is time. That is, whenever she wants she should just take a break and I'll cover whatever she needs. Kid duty, making a meal, whatever. Starts screaming at me that she can't believe I just bought her books and that that's not enough of a gift. Christmas. Spend hours figuring out gift with person's son. We pick out a bracelet. Spend a fair amount of time debating whether we should get silver or gold, as perhaps she'll think gold is too much, etc. Buy the silver, which was not cheap in and of itself, BTW, but certainly isn't the point. Give gift. Scream dig for a good while about how I didn't put enough thought into the gift, etc. TL. Doctor, I don't particularly care for gift-giving occasions. If you like this video, please like and subscribe.